Bickley and Marotta Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
At some point in our lives, we all pay the stupid tax, like failing to get your parking stub validated before leaving the restaurant, forgetting to pay your credit card on time, and learning what 28% interest looks like, or giving an overmatched head coach a 5-year extension, hoping he'll eventually grow into the job. Cliff Kingsbury is the Cardinals' stupid tax. Now, I bring this up not to hate, but because of 2 words, culture shock, words DJ Humphries used to describe new head coach Jonathan Gannon. Gannon is even younger and more unproven as a head coach than Kingsbury was when he took the job, but Gannon has real NFL experience and clearly knows the importance of discipline, of putting guardrails on a football team, on giving them the discipline and accountability they need but do not want. Now, to be clear, I don't blame Kingsbury because Kingsbury gave the Cardinals his true, authentic self. The issue here is the former GM who seemed more concerned with winning the CYA battle than NFL battles, who clung to that head coach for his own job security, who sabotaged and blamed his own quarterback to media friendlies, and who now seems to be giving off the vibe that quote, little quarterback may not have been his idea in the first place. Either way, thank heavens that amateur hour is finally over, and let's hope that culture shock isn't the last surprise coming from the 2023 Cardinals.
When an organization comes to the conclusion, hey, we need to make a coaching change, many times they'll go in a much different direction. We saw it on the heels of Bruce Arians moving on. Couldn't have hired a more different head coaching type than Steve Wilks. There are a lot of similarities between Cliff Kingsbury and Jonathan Gannon, but the intensity, the energy level, that's the
communication skills.
Yes, the communication skills. That's the biggest change, and that's where this needs to start, quite honestly.
No, listen, and so I do think that the one thing Cliff Kingsbury didn't want to do, and one of the things that we did respect, and I think I speak for everybody, the thing we did respect is that he didn't try to fake it, that he didn't suddenly say, okay, I've got to come in here and act like I'm Bill Parcells, because he was smart enough to know that wouldn't work, that football players see right through it. Jonathan Gannon, though, clearly understands that leadership in the NFL, it's got to sound a certain way, it's got to feel a certain way. There has got to be, as Mark Schlereth tells us all the time, a real healthy blend of respect and fear together. And if you've got one and not the other, you got nothing. So and it's not easy for a first-time head coach to assume that kind of personality. But that personality is already in Jonathan Gannon, which is why some people have suggested, as I brought up a few times, and I hope it's right, that he's better suited to be a head coach than a defensive coordinator. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, interestingly enough, Jonathan Gannon over the weekend spoke about his new role as a head coach and learning to work with his assistant coaches.
Yeah, I mean, that's a constant communication of how we're doing that. Your livelihood as a position coach is, are you developing your players? Your livelihood as a coordinator is, how good does your unit play? And so hopefully I can help with everybody on staff to tweak that and make that a little bit better. So ultimately, to get it right, to improve our players and help us win games. That's what it's about. It's not an ego thing. It's not anything like that. We're all part of a team, and we got to do what we need to do to make sure that we have a chance to win.
Yeah, this staff, if you compare it to the ages and experience levels of other staffs in the NFL, it is the youngest. It is the least experienced. That doesn't have to be, a negative. That can be a positive. If it rubs off in terms of energy and buy-in from the players, that can absolutely be a positive. As opposed to having a 30-year assistant head coach at a certain position. But it does jump off the page when you look at the bios of these guys.
Oh, without a doubt.
Especially at the head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. You're looking at 40, 36, and 30. Those are the ages. That's really young historically for an NFL staff.
Well, yes, it is historically young, and there's, like you said, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing if you've got the right core group of people, right? And so, but you've got to have, I mean, Drew Petzing as a play caller.
What do we know?
What do we know?
Not much.
It's a difficult job. You've got to be able to play chess in real time. You've got to be thinking a couple moves ahead of time. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that the staff is going, a lot of boxes the staff is going to have to check. And the biggest thing, as stated many times, is can this new regime keep everybody rolling 100% in the one direction, even if the L's start getting stacked, like everybody expects.
Yeah, another thing that Jonathan Gannon talked about over the weekend was being impressed by how much his players in the off time between the end of minicamp and the start of training camp were able to retain.
You could tell that, that's what I told the team. I know we compete and I know we care. And what I mean by that is when they came back, I think we pretty much so picked up where we left off after those 5.5 weeks. You know, I think I remember telling you guys, you know, now you haven't played in pads and OTAs, but installation schematically, all that stuff, like you're really truthfully, in my opinion, like mentally, like kind of there with what you need to know to go play a game. And now you go on break for 6 weeks. So when we come back, let's see where we're at, you know what I mean? And I thought they've done a really good job. And how we structured the installs, you know, I'll keep that to myself, but we put a lot of pressure on them. They did a good job with it.
Yeah, and he also said the culture is how you behave every single day. And he says he's very, very comfortable with where this football team is, and that's good. It will make a difference. Doesn't mean they're going to win 6 games, but it will make a difference.
It will. You got to plant the seeds first. And you know, things are ramping up. They had the back together Saturday practice on Saturday, then they got the red and white practice, and then the next week is game week. We're 3 days away from NFL preseason football, by the way.
Wow.
Jets and Browns in the Hall of Fame game on Thursday.
Wow.
Kyler Murray also spoke over the weekend. The quarterback coming back, of course, from the ACL injury. Talked about overcoming the mental aspect of that injury.
I mean, really, this whole thing is kind of mental, you know. Even, you know, first time I bent my knee, you know, the PT had to bend it for me because I was too scared to do it, you know. So it's funny, I was at a UFC event not too long ago in Miami. I was talking to Joe. He had, you know, obviously he tore his. And he told me the one thing that he dealt with was being, you know, hesitant in the pocket, and I think that's something that, you know, obviously he did his left, but that's something that every athlete, you know, you get hurt, you pull a hammy, or you're a little scared to run the first time you pull a hammy, and then I think with reps, with, you know, everything, confidence comes, and even in the weight room, you know, I'm doing things. First time I do it, I might be hesitant. The first time I jump, I was hesitant, but you know, we're preparing the body, preparing the mind to be able to do those things. So. I do think the first time I'm out there, maybe I might be, but with the reps, I think the confidence will grow and grow.
And when will that first time be that he is out there? I was asked that question as well. How close is he to returning?
It's a great question. I have no answer for you, though. I've taken it one day at a time, like I said. I don't have a timetable or whatever. But, yeah, just take it one day at a time.
I'm still sticking by at least 4 games. He's going to miss at least the first 4 games.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be any earlier than October. Middle of October, maybe. First week of October. Yeah, I'm with you. That's what I would guess
4 to
as
6.
Well.
Yeah.
And let's just keep your fingers crossed that he has the mental toughness to do this. It's going to be the hardest thing he's ever done.
I agree with that. We shall see.